Hey, everybody, it's Leon Thomas here for another episode of Real Thoughts and Conversations. To learn more about me and the Leon Thomas Group, and to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on the show, go to our website. That's the leonthomasgroup.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on this show, email me at leonthetrainer@gmail.com. And to learn more about all the things we do at the Leon Thomas Group, even to see a lot of our shows and to learn more about us and the folks that work with us, go to our info. That's like a business app type of thing. It's the coolest thing ever. Go there, type in go to a browser and type infone.co/LTG. And once you do that, save it to your home screen. Then my face, our company, is going to be on your home screen. And you can go there once or twice a week and see updates on shows and new things that we've done. Again, that's infone.co/LTG. So here we are on Wednesday, November 9th, the day after the midterm elections. I voted yesterday, and I hope you did too. I hope you voted. And I'm going to throw this out there. If you're black and you did not vote, shame on you. People died. Our forefathers, our ancestors, many of them were hurt. Many of them died so that we could have the right to vote. So, again, I'm talking of specifically black people now. If you didn't vote, shame on you. I don't want to hear my vote doesn't count. That's bull crap. You vote. You vote. Vote. Bottom line, just vote. Now, let me tell you what happened yesterday. As I was on my way to our voting precinct, something different happened with my family. My wife and I said we're going to leave to go vote at whatever time. I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever time it was. And our son said he's going to ride with us. Typically, he goes on his own, drives his car, whatever. My wife and I were going out because Tuesdays are our date nights, and we were going to go on a date after voting. We said, why don't you drive? Talking to my son, why don't you drive? And that way we don't have to bring you back home. He said, no, I want to ride with you guys. And so as we were on our way, about a 10-minute drive to our voting precinct, the first thought that I had was about my father, Clinton Thomas Jr. Now, I thought about 22 or 23 years ago when my father last voted. And that was in, I don't know what year it was, but it was the election where it was Bush against Gore. That election, whatever year that was. My father was in a hospice center, and we brought him out in the wheelchair. He could hardly move. We got him in the car. We took him to the voting precinct because it was important for him to vote. And as he went to give him their ID or verification, whatever they were doing at the time, they said, "Sir, we need your signature right here." And my father's eyes, because of his illness, were so bad that he couldn't see where they wanted him to sign. And the lady there said, "Oh, you can just make an X." As if he couldn't write. That's not what the story was. He couldn't see. And so we said to them, look, he's intelligent. He can see. He can't write right now because he can't see where to write. The way they said just make an X was like, you're not intelligent enough, you're not smart enough, you don't even know how to write your name, just put an X there. So that's one thing that I thought about. Now, something else that you need to know as I continue this conversation. When I vote, I wear a suit because the pictures and videos that I've seen of black people going to vote way, way, way back when, they wore suits. I put on a suit when I go to vote out of honor to them. Now, I know many folks have said to me, I'm honoring them just as much by going to vote. Yes, okay, that's true. That's your opinion. My opinion, I put on a suit, hat, top hat, everything. I'm dressed to the nines. So now here we go. Check it out. I voted yesterday. Now, as we were driving to the voting precinct, I thought about all of my ancestors and those that are much older. You all know the stories of the hassle, the embarrassment that black people were put through when they went to vote. You were fully aware of that. And I thought that as I was driving there with my family, I don't have any of those worries. I've never experienced problems at a voting precinct. And I thought, this is what my forefathers and older relatives and great grandfathers and others wanted to see happen, that their children could go and vote without a problem. Their grandchildren, their great grandchildren could go and vote. Again, if you're black and you didn't vote, shame on you. And if you want to challenge me on why I'm saying shame on you, go to my infone. That's infone.co/LTG. Send me a text, call me, let's talk about it. Come on the show next week and let's talk about it. All right, if you want to talk, let's do that. So we get to our voting precinct, we park, we put our mask on, we walk in, and here's three black people, a black family walking in to vote. And I felt great about that, that we're showing up together to vote. In fact, I'm going to talk to my family about that becoming a family tradition, that we go and vote together. Now, we walk in, there were folks in the gymnasium that we at the school at the registration table. So we had to wait, not register to vote, where you register to say you're here. And so my wife went in and started taking care of that process. After her, my son went in. And so my wife gets taken care of. They get her, she signs a little card. They goes to the next stop. She gets a ballot. She goes. And I noticed they're still working with my son. I'm standing next to them. It looks like they have a problem. And so when the first thing that kind of irritated me was that the lady that was working with my son, she looked to my wife and then kind of looked out in the hallway to where I was and said, "Are all three of you together?" What does that matter if we're all three together? That has nothing to do with it. This is not a restaurant where you want to know how many people need to sit, right? I didn't understand that, but held my peace, let it go. All right. So as I'm getting taken care of, and the guy says, "May I have the first four letters of your last name?" I said THOM. The lady working with my son, sitting behind the table, she says, "Oh, it's THOM. I was putting in THOL. LM. They don't sound similar, do they? So I don't know how she could screw that up, but maybe it was because she was using a pencil on a touchpad and she clicked the wrong number. Maybe that's what happened. Okay, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So then she puts in THOM and asks for my son's first name, and he says it, and she still doesn't come up with it. She doesn't have it. I'm like, this is weird. So my son maintains his composure and he says his name. And she types it in and doesn't have it. And she says, "I don't see you in the system," or something like that. And so, they give you a voter's registration card, that if you're when you register, or if your precinct changes or whatever like that, you can prove to them that you are registered to vote. And they also send you the sample ballot that has your voter registration ID on it. And so here's my voter registration card right there. I'm not going to show it too much because I don't want anybody to copy the number. That's my voter registration card. Okay. Now, so my son takes out the sample ballot that was sent with all the questions on it that has his information that proves he's eligible to vote and that he's registered to vote. He takes that out, and the lady types in the number that's associated with my son's registration. She types that in and then comes back and says to my son, "Oh, you recently moved from Ellicott City." Like, what? We're talking about 25 to 30 miles away. So she can't spell. It's THOM. She's typing in THOL. She can't find him when he says his name correctly. She can't find him Ellicott City. So then she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Then she takes her time and she finally finds my son's information. Now, why? What was the problem? Why is she asking, "Are you all together?" What does that have to do with anything? We weren't trying to get seated at a restaurant. And so she's going through all of this stuff. She can't find it. You're not in the system. You moved from Ellicott City. All of that stuff. Listen, you know what I think it was? I'm going to tell you exactly what I think it was. Go to my info, send me a text, email, make a comment here if you think that I'm wrong, if you don't agree with me about this. Listen, there aren't many black people that vote in that voting precinct that we go to. All right? Here's a family of 3 coming together. I think she looked and saw 3 people, and then the young black man comes up and he has on his high school's hat. He went to a Jesuit high school. I think she was thrown all off. She just didn't know how to accept that a young black man was coming to this white precinct to vote and just had her mind made up that you're not supposed to be here. She didn't concentrate enough to put in the right information. That's what I think happened. Again, if you want to argue with me, debate it, or whatever, please do. Let's come on the show next week. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. So I voted. Listen, let's talk about me voting for a second. I got a chance to sit down and use the electronic deal. Around my computer that I was voting on, I had the screen up, so to speak, that on the desktop, on the tabletop, that no one could look over and see how I was voting. All of those that were using the old-fashioned paper ballot, they had the partitions up, but there was another computerized machine to my left where there was no protection set up there, right? No boundaries, no partition set up. As I'm voting, a lady shows up and uses the electronic machine to my left, and she has her 2 children with her. And she let her children press the button. So for governor of Maryland, the big race in Maryland was Dan Cox, the Republican, who's been on a show that we produce at the Leon Thomas Group. That show is called 60 Minutes in Black America. Dan Cox has been on that show twice, right? He's been on the show. If you go to my info.co/LTG, go through there, you'll see the episode. Click on 60 Minutes, you'll see the episode with Dan Cox. Wes Moore, the Democratic candidate, has also been on that very same show. So she's got her children pressing the buttons. And she says, "For governor, honey, press Wes Moore." And this is a loud conversation. These kids are 8, 9, 10 years old. And she says, "Press this one. We want Wes Moore." And one of the children says, "Why, mommy?" And she says, "Oh, he's really cool. You'll like him. He's really cool. You met him here," or whatever. Now, I'm thinking that maybe somebody else in the room who did not like Wes Moore, do you know that could have turned nasty? "Oh, you like Wes Moore? He's this, he lied. You like Dan Cox? He lied, he lied." That could have happened. So I don't know if children should be allowed in there when mom and dads are voting, or if even children should be allowed to press the buttons. How many times do the children press a button and maybe they make a mistake? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay. So I finish voting. I give my electronic ballot and all it prints out of the machine. I give it to them, and the guy says it was pretty easy, huh? And I kind of was like, what, I didn't challenge him or anything, but why do you got to say pretty easy? And did he say it to everyone or did he just say it to me and my son? I don't even know if he said it to my wife. Honey, I'm going to ask you right here now. When you turned in your ballot, did he say to you, is that pretty easy? Did he say that to you? He didn't say it to my wife. He said it to me. He said it to my son. Pretty easy, huh? Is it, I don't know. Was that meaning black people had problems doing it? I don't know. I don't know. Again, you want to talk about it? Come on the show next week. Let's talk about it. Call me, text me. Let's talk about it there. All right. But here's another thing. As my son and I left and we're waiting in the vestibule, waiting for my wife to finish, we were like, yeah, I wonder what was going on with that lady. And I told my son, I said, you know what? You're not supposed to be here. Young black man coming to vote. They don't expect you to be here. I told my son he was throwing Burt Blylevens at that lady. You know what a Burt Blyleven is? That's like the most awesome curveball ever. Producer Jay, you know about a Burt Blyleven curveball, right? You know about that. Serious Uncle Charlie. Young black man shows up with mom and dad wearing a private Jesuit high school hat? Oh no, he ain't supposed to be here. I think she was thrown off. That's what I think. I don't know how your voting experiences were. I don't know what happened, but again, I'll say this: don't let them stop you. I voted. If you're black and didn't vote, shame on you. Shame on you. And even tonight on one of our other networks, we have a political show on now, 60 Minutes in Black America, where they're talking about the election results. Look at what's going on in Georgia. The last I knew, Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock are basically head to head. And the last I knew, they were going to have a runoff election in December that could change the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. And do you know in Georgia and in some other states, you have to get 50% plus one vote to be the winner in the general election? 50% plus one vote. Don't tell me your vote doesn't matter. All right. You want to be a guest on the show next week and talk about this or want to challenge me on anything that I talked about? Get in touch with me. But know this: if you contact me through LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, text message, email, call me, send me a letter, I'm going to ask you, let's go on the show and talk about it. All right. This will make great conversation. What do you think happened in my son's voting experience? What do you think about what I said about me wearing a suit in honor of those that couldn't vote, in honor of those that were turned away at the voting precinct years and years and decades ago? What do you think about me saying if you're black and you didn't vote, shame on you, and all the other things that I mentioned here during this show? You want to be a guest on Real Thoughts and Conversations? Contact me. The email address is leonthetrainer@gmail.com. Or you can go to my info and learn all about everything our company does by going to info.co/LTG. We're going to bring producer Jay on the screen for only about a minute or so. Producer Jay, you have a theory that you say will help get more people to vote. Go ahead and tell everyone what that is, Dr. J. Dr. J, we can't hear you. See, you don't even want everybody to know about it. You muted yourself. You clearly don't believe in what you're saying. Go ahead, Dr. J.
Thanks for letting me say what I want to say, but I think people use the lame excuse that they don't have time. They make time for everything else, but they don't want to. Well, I have to be at work at a certain amount of time. I got to be home at a certain amount of time. I think if states or the country make it a holiday, they don't have an excuse. People, if they're of the age to be able to vote, they should vote because they people like to complain, but if you don't vote, how are you going to change things?
I'm with you. If you don't vote, how are you going to change things? Now, Seriously, make it a national holiday and everybody and we're going to have voting numbers go up? Really?
That's my theory, but
Well,
that's me.
I mean, we haven't tried that, so there's no reason for us not to try it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I understand that in some states, state employees get off from work, right? I think that's the case in Maryland that on election day, folks get off from work in the
Not
state of
every
Maryland, Maryland
not,
employees.
not
Yeah.
every company gets off that day
Yeah,
for
that's
this
that's
for
true
the
too. So
election.
maybe that's something that should happen. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Dr. J, thanks for what you do in the background to make things work well for all of our shows, and thanks for being a
No.
mentor to those that have joined our organization, the Leon Thomas Group. We so much appreciate what you do and
No.
appreciate your support. Although I'm not fully on board with you on this national holiday thing. What about you folks? Do you agree with Dr. J? We could have a national national holiday, but we'll talk about that some in future episodes of Real Thoughts and Conversations. Again, Dr. J, thanks for everything that you do. I'm Leon Thomas. To learn more about me and our company, the Leon Thomas Group, go to info.co/LTG. I voted yesterday. I voted. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching Real Thoughts and Conversations. Here we go.